Persistent to the Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the opening meeting law, general laws, chapter 30A, section 18, the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. We're conducting the planning board meeting here virtually. This meeting is being televised by Chelmsford Telemedia and is being conducted remotely. The public can comment by calling area code 646-558-8656 or by clicking on the link on the agenda center that is on the planning board agenda on the town website. First item for tonight is Steve Yonley, the Assistant DPW Director, discussion on the sewer capacity discussion.
Mike?
Yes.
Are you acting as chair right now? Because Henry's not?
I am not. Well, I'm not. I thought, is Tim on? I was just reading the opening as the secretary.
I tried that.
I just want to, we had to change a request to take out of order.
Okay.
Melissa Robbins.
There we go. All right, I guess I'm finally here.
Colleen, would you like to repeat that?
Yeah, Henry, are you there now?
I'm finally here. We finally got things working.
Okay, so Mike went ahead and read all the regulatory things. North Star Realty had a request to be taken out of order, be taken first.
Yep. Go for it. Mike, you have to sit out of this one.
Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, I am recusing myself as I am an abutter to that location. Thank you for reminding me.
All right.
Let me just find Melissa.
Colleen.
Oh, there she is.
I'm here.
This is Katie.
Katie's on as well. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, members of the board. We requested to be taken out of order. Oh, excuse me. For the record, Attorney Melissa Robbins from the law firm of Deshane and Farrell. We're here tonight for North Star Realty regarding property along Groton Road. We have been requested to take out of order this evening. We have just a short discussion and my engineer has a conflict a little bit later. So thank you for taking us out of order. What we would like to present to the board this evening is actually a movement on some of the unit locations on our lotting plan and to have a brief discussion on that. I believe that the board was given a plan earlier today, and I'll allow Katie to just give you a brief overview of what we would like to discuss.
Great. Good evening, everyone. Again, thanks for taking us out of order. Colleen, do you have the plan or should I share my screen?
You can go ahead and share your screen. I have a backup. I don't have it ready.
You got to allow me.
Oh, sorry about that. That's Pete.
Okay.
Pete, are you there?
Yep. It says host is disabled participant screen sharing. Oh, now I'm the host. Thanks. All right. Hold on one sec.
So Katie, when did you have this plan for us? It just came in today?
Yeah, I honestly
Really having a problem with plans coming in at the last minute that we don't get a chance to look at.
Well, this is
ahead of time.
This is not for formal review. This is just essentially an idea that we had, or we would have had to have, we would have continued tonight and had to have re-engineered the plan prior to the next hearing. So the reason, let me bring you back and see if it'll let me share now. There it is. All right.
Mr. Chair, we were actually going to describe where we were going to move the units. So we were lucky enough for Katie to pull together a plan so you could actually visualize it. So regardless, we were going to try to have this discussion this evening with or without a concept plan for you to put your eyes on. But I think it was helpful for the board to at least have an exhibit here, even though it's not fully engineered, so they can understand what the movement of the units does for the plan.
Right, and this is certainly not a formal submission. Again, this was just as a a visual aid for tonight's discussion. So essentially what we heard 2 weeks ago is we heard significant feedback from the abutters, and there was a couple of questions that was asked. We're here tonight. I worked very hard to see if I could find a way to push all of the units to the north of the electric easement. I have been able to do that with a square feet to spare. And the plan that you see in front of you is just an initial concept plan to show that I'm capable of moving those units to the north side of the easement. In looking at the RC regulations, I believe all of these lots have met the RC regulations, and we're able to essentially not discard, but not use the area on the other side of the easement for the houses. I was able to push the road to the north, fit the houses in between the roadway and the easement itself, and provide a substantial backyard for those 5 lots. So essentially what I've done is shift lots from the north side of the road to the south side of the road. So now there's 5 houses, well, actually 6 houses that will abut the easement. All have 20 feet or greater to the easement line at the rear. The closest unit is 13, which is exactly 20 feet to the easement line. The wires themselves are another 45 feet away, and 20 is actually our rear setback in the RC district. So I'm able to redistribute the lot in this manner. So what we wanted to talk to you about tonight is we have had conversations, certainly with some of the abutters. We heard their concerns. I worked really diligently to try to get these lots moved to the other side of the easement so that we'll be able to retain the full tree line on the south side of the easement. Shown on this plan are the same drainage areas that we showed previously so that I could see that the house placement would still work. There are still 11 houses on this cul-de-sac. Besides that, we have had conversations with Mass DOT, and we are not required to seek a permit from them where our new road is outside of the state highway layout. And we've also done some research after hearing for the first time at the last meeting regarding the property owner that we thought we had an easement across for the sewer. I know I provided some documents to the planning board today as to why I thought that. We've done some research as to the original applicant and the original attorney and found that that was never completed. So we will not be going through to Burton Lane for sewer. We will be addressing sewer by going out to Groton Road, which is essentially the way we had engineered this project in the first place until we thought we had an easement. So we've already begun conversations or continued conversations with DPW about the sewer infrastructure and what that means for the sewerage in Groton Road. We've also, since the last meeting, paid the water department for the water study, and yesterday morning we completed flow tests on Groton Road to determine what the water pressure is out on Groton Road, and they've authorized their consultants, engineering consultants, to do the water study along Groton Road. So what we would like tonight is essentially to find out, certainly this plan would have to be completely re-engineered based on the of the road and the you know, if by a straw poll, if the board sees fit, or if we can hear commentary from the board tonight, I'd like the ability to re-engineer this and come back to you in a month's time with the new plan, and hopefully seek a better feedback and a better result moving forward. So with that, Melissa, do you have anything else to add?
I just said, in addition to this solving the concern about being on the other side of the easement, it certainly pulls these units much further away from Burton Lane. It also addresses some concerns that were raised about the length of the driveways leading to those units and some of the fire accessibilities. So we think that that also addresses this concern as well. But like Katie said, we'd like to hear some feedback from the board before we spend a lot of time and energy re-engineering the plan to go in this direction. Katie, do you just want to talk about conservation just quickly, just give an update?
Sure. We saw Conservation Commission. We had a site walk on Monday night. I know some of the board members were able to join us and some of the abutters were able to join us. We walked the site to determine whether or not the Conservation Commission felt comfortable with the wetland flagging the way it's shown on our existing conditions plan. And we spoke to them about this new conceptual plan last evening. The feedback that we received from them is that they are confident in the wetland lines as shown on this plan. The new plan that we showed them last evening and are looking forward to seeing the new engineering in a month's time.
That was it, Mr. Chair.
All right. All right. Couple things. I spent the good part of this last week checking the registry of deeds to see why I didn't see it in there. I'm kind of disappointed that it was brought to us. I can see why, but it's really important for us if we're getting information from a developer that it is factual and true. This is disconcerting. And this isn't the first instance where I've had problems. If you want me to take and lay them out in public here, I will, but I don't think this is the place or the appropriate spot for this. But I really concerned with stuff being brought out. It doesn't do the planning board any good, and it definitely doesn't do the engineers or the lawyers that are bringing this to us with incorrect information. It's really troublesome. If I hadn't seen those documents from you today, you probably wouldn't have been this far. I think it's a much better looking development than we saw the first time. I would pass it around, and we'll see what the other board members feel. Tim, are you there?
I'm here. A couple of things. Did we have a chance to make sure that all of the letters have been read, that were given to us have been read, so that we can hear and make sure everybody has had the info?
I would think that would be correct, but now we're talking about a totally different development too over what we were first looking at.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how that will affect us.
Okay, so maybe they'll have a chance to send in letters once they get to review this plan, since we just got it tonight also.
Yeah.
So what will they be asking for? As they be asking for anything for special consideration here with this new plan?
It would be the same exact waiver for the 11 lots along a dead-end cul-de-sac. The waiver relief doesn't change. That's the only relief we're seeking.
Okay. I definitely like the plan much better. And I know from being there at the walkthrough that you guys have already talked with the neighbor to the left of that about putting a fence. So I heard you guys talking about that. So it would be voicing their concerns, and I think you'd be definitely taking care of the neighbors on Burton by not putting the houses too close to Burton. So, I mean, I definitely like this plan better. I'd like to also have the neighbors have a chance to hear them, but so far, so good for me. Thank you.
Okay, Don Van Dyne.
Yeah, I have no real concerns. I believe this plan does reflect what I heard the other members of the planning board mention at our last meeting. And certainly I think they've addressed many of the concerns that they probably heard at the site walk. I do actually, Henry, to pick up on a comment that you made. I'm not, in this particular instance, I'm not overly concerned. And I don't believe the developer actually meant to mislead us. They mentioned that the easement was recorded, and that's easily, as you noted, as you went through the registry, that's easy to document if it's not recorded. I don't believe that Katie or the developer tried to mislead us, because we could actually find out, as you did, Henry. So yeah. I think in this instance, I'm okay with this.
Okay. Nancy.
I'm liking this layout a whole lot better than the previous layout. I'm still concerned that there is some sort of screening off to the left. I think you're going to need it due to the proximity. But yeah, I'm liking this one. Looks good.
Mike Raisback.
I would have to agree. I think it's a considerable improvement from many points of view. I do think screening on what is the left side of this may be appropriate given the house that's right next to this. But other than that, I'm good with it.
Mr. Hool.
Thank you,
Hank, are you
Henry.
here? Yep.
Yep. I think this plan looks a lot better, so I'm not even gonna push my agenda on 10 houses, so, because this fits well, I think this is a good fit for the neighborhood. The only thing I'd like to see, and I don't know if we've done it in the past, but the old proposed lots 2 and 3, could we have those recorded as non-buildable lots? So 20 years down the road, someone can't just say, hey, I got 2 lots for sale and access it through the either Burton or the development. So can we do that?
I'm not sure. That's more of a question for Evan.
All right, that's the only concerns I had, though.
All right.
I
Evan.
don't know offhand what
Just a note,
2 and 3 are.
the way this is laid out, there's not enough space there to create stripped off, additional stripped off lots. So that's not a threat.
I think it is. You could fit another lot down on the bottom there if them 2 lots were bought by the same person. They move a property line over, put a private road in, cut them lots down to 20,000 square feet. You'd have 20,000 square feet on the bottom, and you could put a duplex down on the bottom.
So the board is allowed to place a condition on the decision, preventing further house lots or road extensions. And in this case, they're already asking for 1 extra house lot.
I think that would cover it. All right. Katie, I think that gives you what you need.
Yeah, so you're gonna let any of the abutters speak tonight just to comment on this, or?
I mean, I don't even think the butters well, the butters can look at this. I was gonna say no, not until you get a full plan. I don't want to take and drag it through, and that's the whole idea about not having this come in at the last minute. People have an idea to look at it. No.
Katie, before you go, you have to make Pete the host again. He made a mistake.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure where this is advertised as a public hearing that we didn't close it before.
Katie, I have answered your question, and I am not going to take much more. I will take and start listing out other false information you have given this board in public right now, but no.
I will continue this to another day.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I think at this point, what we'd like to do is, like Katie said, we do have a lot of legwork to do here because the plan's going to take some substantial work. So we do not want to go to the next meeting. We would like to go out a full month. That'll give us time to rework this plan and also address the board's other concerns that they raised at the last meeting.
All right.
So that I'd like to just request a continuance for 4 weeks to I guess your first meeting in August.
That's fine by me. It's all right with you, Evan?
Yeah, August 12th would be the date.
Does that work for you?
Works for me.
All right.
You want a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
You got it.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I guess we don't have to do a roll call on this one.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Chair and members of the board. We'll see you in a month.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, what's next?
So it looks like we have Steve Yonley, the Assistant DPW Director, to talk about the sewer capacity discussion.
Steve, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening.
So I guess over the last couple of meetings, the board had some questions or comments, concerns over the town's sewer capacity and, what we're doing about it or the like. So I guess I'll just give a quick history of kind of how we've gotten to this point. With the update of the master plan within the last year, kind of gave us a driver to really start looking at the overall capacity in town. And out of that, it showed that we were hovering, close to our limit with the city of Lowell. So out of that, we've begun, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago, right around the start of the COVID crisis, we had gone into development of a full kind of flow study for the town, analyzing existing flows, projected flows, looking at projects that are just coming online. So out of that, we don't have the full report yet. We kind of have some bits and pieces, and we're providing some additional information. Over the last couple of weeks, I worked with Evan, and then we also worked with Christina to provide Weston and Sampson with some planning board projects and ZBA projects that are either under construction or under the permitting process. And then also looking out at, putting some projections to some vacant land or some potential redevelopable land, just to try to get an idea of some future flows. So out of that so far, what we have is kind of looking at like a 5-year average from 2014 to 2019, because when we started this, I didn't have full 2020 numbers yet. So our 5-year average is, our flow is looking right around 2.5 million gallons per day, give or take on any given year. Again, that's why we kind of use the 5-year average. If the board is aware, some of you maybe not, back in the mid 90s, the town and the sewer commission sold off 350,000 gallons per day to the town of Tingsboro. That's providing storage for a lot of the development up along the Tingsboro Road corridor, up along the river. They are currently using a little more than half of their flow with the expansion of sewer up in that part of Tingsboro, as well as a lot of the development that's going on. We anticipate, and in speaking with Tingsboro officials, we anticipate probably within the next couple of years, Tingsboro will be using their full 350 gallons per day that runs through our system that counts towards our quota with Lowell. Our full quota with Lowell is just a shade over 1 million, 3.01 million gallons per day. And that's averaged out over a calendar year, 365 for the agreement with Lowell Wastewater. So what we've been doing over the past year or so, putting a little harder look into projects, not even on an overall scale, what does that mean, towards the total, the roughly 3 million gallons per day, but also on a local level. Does this project affect, one of the 41 pump stations? Does the infrastructure on said street, can that handle it? And at this point, we've been pretty good with projects coming in. Everything seems to be fitting okay. Have we had developers do little upgrades or things like that? Have we done upgrades? Because as I know the board's aware, we collect capacity impact fees, and that money can be used to do upgrades to, better capacity, either at a local pump station. We did some work Mill Road in the past, Progress Ave, and we're doing any of the town meeting reps see that every year we come through and we're upgrading stations. But eventually, like I say, we are going to hit that number. So we've had some internal discussion. I updated the selectmen a couple weeks ago. Maybe, once we get the final study, some recommendations may be to develop a bylaw that would allow, a small treatment plant for sites, depending on the size of the project, or even maybe a larger septic system, pressure dose system, something like that. What currently the regulations say you must connect to sewer. So there's, you know, and some of that is when you get looking at larger projects, the UMass West Campus property, you know, the potential, I know it's kind of all rumors, there's some stuff on River Neck Road that could get redeveloped. The Anthony's Loom site's been kind of bounced around on the other side of Route 3 over on the Barica-Chelmsford line. So these are all, you know, things we have to consider going forward. So I guess, I mean, that's a quick update. Like I say, hopefully in the next month or so, we get a draft report, we can review it, have a final report. I'd be happy to come back at that time, give the board, I'll be updating the selectmen once we get the final one. I'd be happy to come back to the board and present that final report as well. So with that, I guess, you know, if anybody has any specific questions, or, you know, I'll try to answer them the best that I can.
All right, Tim, you have any questions for?
Well, I guess, I mean, you answered a lot, but at this time right now, you are comfortable approving all these projects?
Yes.
That are coming up?
Yep.
Okay, and now one other question. So if, for example, the commercial space on 129 was to start to fill up, would that affect any of these new developments?
Well, I guess we're taking them as they come, you know, as projects are submitted. So obviously you just heard just before this, you know, the subdivision on Route 40, you know, later on, you're going to hear the project in the center around the Fisk House and the Odd Fellows building. So we take them as they come. If somebody came in a couple of weeks or a couple of months with, you know, a stretch of Billerica Road, 270, 300 Billerica to make it into this big campus thing, we'll address it at that time. But, you know, we're kind of speculating, I guess, you know, or thinking, you know, something might come and it might come, it might not come. Somebody might buy it and just open the office stuff up. But I think with down there, when we did Progress Ave, that station, we allowed for some increase in the corridor, knowing that the overlay district was coming. But again, it will affect the overall total. So until, I guess, we get a project, it's tough for me to, you know, I can kind of guess based on the bylaws, the overlays, we can kind of project, but, you know, I don't want to get too far off what we're doing until I get an actual project in hand to look at, and I can generate actual numbers.
All right, I appreciate it. I'll just explain kind of why we are concerned and why we're asking you for an update. Obviously, sure. We keep hearing that you know they're basically out of room, and then you know some things we hear. Well, we're able to do this because we have vacancy on 129. I guess at the end of the day, you're the professional in that capacity, so you know, and you at this point right now, you don't seem to have any worries with that. And if you do, you'll start to deal with them as the projects come in at that time.
Correct.
That hearing.
Yep, exactly.
Steve,
okay, that's all I have right now.
As far as the vacancy goes on 129, those buildings at the time, they've been assessed for water usage or sewer usage at some point, correct?
Correct.
They may not be using it now, but at the time they were. Would that be part of the calculation?
Oh, that's absolutely part of the calculation. Okay. But the flows that I was speaking of earlier are actual flows. So, okay. You know, towards the end of the last thing was the end of 2019. So obviously, like the Mercury Computer Campus, I forget when they moved to wherever they moved to. Yeah. So that would have been accounted for, you know, when they were fully staffed over there. Now those buildings are empty. Right. You know, so it's kind of it's give or take year to year because people came in, you know, businesses moved out. This year will be, you know, it's almost like a throwaway year because, you know, restaurants are closed for 3 months, hotels are closed for 3 months. You know, they're not, you know, so our flows will be way down this year.
Right.
Compared to, you know, so it's almost like, you know, put an asterisk next to it and move on to the next one when we're calculating averages. But yeah, any existing building would have had a flow allotted to it.
Right. So the report that you all are generating is from 2014 to 2019?
Those were the flows that we were using because when we started this, obviously, you know, it was the beginning of 2020. So.
Okay.
Mike Raisback, you have any questions?
Well, I just have one comment. I want to make it clear why we're worried about this. What we're trying to avoid is surprises. I don't want a developer to get all wound up with a preliminary plan, come marching in, and bang, all of a sudden get told he can't have sewer. We need to know, a year ahead if we're going to be running out. And I just wanted to be clear that that's why this is a concern.
Sure. No, and I can appreciate that. And quite honestly, a lot of times when developments or things are getting off the ground, we, and as Evan knows, we have, kind of internal meetings where people will come down and talk to us, especially more over the last 2 or 3 years, just to get some ideas and direction from us prior to even finalizing plans to submit to the board.
Nancy, do you have any comments?
I have none.
Hey, cool.
Thank you. I just had a question. If we put satellite stations in, treatment stations, would that alleviate it down the road, you said? Or part of it? Or does
no,
Lowell have to build a bigger treatment plan to do something on their end?
Well, it's almost like a regional issue when you get talking about the plant at Duck Island and Lowell. They have a limit on the amount they can process per day. So Lowell and then the communities that are part of the regional wastewater utility over there, us, part of Drake at Tewksbury, we're all allotted little chunks of the pie, if you will. So, Lowell has obviously the biggest chunk, but then we have our 3 million gallons. Tewksbury has theirs. Drake it has around 1 million gallons. So we're all kind of up against it regionally because the plant is up against it regionally. So, if Lowell couldn't, they can certainly increase their capacity at the plant, but will EPA DEP allow that to go on? So it's a much larger issue than just, capacity at the plant. There's federal permitting, state permitting. So when I speak of that, small treatment plants, I'm talking like privately owned. If somebody came in and, West Campus, for instance, we've had some, very, very, preliminary discussions on that, given the potential magnitude for the project, that we just will not be able to handle that project. So I've already indicated to them that they need to be prepared to potentially have a privately owned and operated treatment plant on that site.
Okay, I appreciate your info on this.
Sure.
All right, Mike.
Hey, Steve, how you doing? Nice to see you. Just a quick question. So you're keeping track of all the approved projected flows of the plans that have already been through the planning board that are not under construction yet that have been approved. So you have
Correct.
them in a master list somewhere?
Yeah, we have a spreadsheet that either has units and bedrooms, which is how we would calculate it, or if it's commercial retail office, it's based off of square footage. So yeah, we have one for probably the last 18 months of development. And then there's also a category that, kind of put some question marks to potential projects.
And then I know we get letters from your office commenting on the plans. If we could maybe just make sure that they all address that this project has adequate sewage going forward, so that we know that, because like everyone else has said, the past couple of jobs, proposals that have been coming through, we've been hearing that it's full and not full, and just, we don't want to set up the developers, at the end of the road that they get shut down.
Sure. Yep. No, we can, I can certainly coordinate with Christina to provide you guys with that information per project. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks for coming out tonight. I appreciate it.
Yep. No problem.
Glenn, you have any questions?
So, so as a board, can we ask that prior to any of the new projects that come to us, they go to the sewer department and get an okay letter saying that they're good at that point? That way down the road, as we get going, we get closer, you guys got kind of a better idea of what you got compared to us just saying, yeah, go ahead, build it, because we were told 6 months ago that we have plenty of room. You know what I mean? And it just, It'd be one more link into it, then they go to you and you say, well, geez, no, we can't fit you.
Kind of like we do with the water district.
Yeah, kind of like the same as the water department. Would that make any sense to anybody?
I think that's what Mike Walsh just asked for, kind of a letter of approval with every decision.
You know, what we could do is just a little bit further earlier in the process, when a project comes in for applicability, we should be asking at that point, does the DPW approve this project for the flow volume at that time, before we even get into any further designs of the project? Is that what you mean, Glenn? Do it that early?
Exactly.
I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It will save the developer obviously a lot of time and money.
Yeah, that's what that's what we want to do. We don't want to waste their time.
Why put them through a whole engineering process to find out that they don't have flow?
Right. Steve, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You just, I just asked Evan to include us with the applicability process then, when you get initial submittals. They tend to be more of an administrative thing, I think, for the board, and we don't tend to get those. But if we get them, we can certainly comment.
And I would think putting that in for larger projects only, not for like a 1 or 2 family house, I don't think you need it. There should be, you know, if it's like 25 or more, it would make sense. So if somebody's coming in with a small project, I don't think it would matter.
Yeah, we're not so worried with someone like splitting a lot A and R, you know, a single family home,
right.
you know, an addition, things like that. It's the at this point, it's the large scale developments
Exactly.
that are really, you know, making us nervous.
Okay. That's all I got, Henry.
All right. I guess we
Question?
Sure.
Yeah. Question for Steve. You mentioned that you were talking to the developers at West Campus about the potential of having an on-site treatment facility. Would that be gray water or black water on-site?
Well, that would process all the storage, like any standard treatment plant that, you know, there used to be a few in town, you know, like the Radisson was one. Now it's a maintenance garage or whatever. Once they connected to sewer, they had their own treatment plant. Some of the Billerica Road properties had their own treatment plant. So, I mean, basically it's just a massive septic system that treats it much more different than a traditional septic. There's all kinds of processes that go on with them. It's just privately owned instead of us transmitting it to Lowell.
Is that allowed by the state?
Yeah, the state would permit those depending on the size. That would, so if they're large enough, they would skirt local board of health and write to DEP.
Okay.
All right. Well, I think, anybody else have any more questions?
No.
All right, Steve, you're up. All right, Steve,
All right.
I guess you're off the hook.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
See you
Thank
later.
you.
Thanks.
All right, 56 Pile Drive.
Henry, can I ask if we stop just for a second? We've kind of messed up the Zoom meeting. Somehow you became the host, as in your CTM. So you have to, let me see if I can get Pete.
Henry,
Well, that sounded wonderful.
Yeah. Pete could be coming on. Oh, he's saying he can't participate without the feedback. So are you on your phone, Henry?
I am on my phone.
Okay, he said the screens are hard to see. I guess we can keep going like this. I'll just have to be careful of what you hit.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, 56 Pile Drive, request for endorsement. This property is located in the IA Limited Industrial Zone District. This project proposed an outdoor contractor yard with 4,000 square feet structure and associated site improvements. Applicant requests a site plan approval, section 195-104, and a special permit for the use of a per 195 Amendment 1 subsection E.5.A and any other release deemed necessary. Evan, you want to take and fill us in on this?
Yes, you've already approved this project per your decision. As many of you know, prior to a building permit, final plans must be submitted for planning board endorsement of the Mylar. So I believe there's a letter from Christina to be read.
Mike, do you have a letter from Christina?
I do not have that letter.
Christina, do you have it? Or do you just want to verbally update the board?
I do have the letter, but I have reviewed the plans and I recommend endorsement of the Mylars.
So we're looking for a vote from the board.
Give you a motion for endorsement of the Mylars.
Do I have a second?
Second,
Second.
All right, roll call. Glenn,
Yes.
Mike Raisback,
yes.
Mike Walsh,
Yes.
Don Van Dyne,
Yes.
Nancy Arroway,
Yes.
Mike Raisback,
Yes.
Tim Shannon.
Yes.
I'll give it a yes, but I don't think Hank gets to vote on this anyways.
No.
All right, you got it. All right, 35 Devonshire Crossing, special permit, review decision.
So this is a follow-up
yeah.
from about a month ago.
Yeah.
It was about 30 days ago. You closed the public hearing and voted approval. 2 weeks ago, the board had asked me to follow up with council to see if it was legally possible and what the procedure would be for the board to consider reopening the public hearing. That was primarily due to some abutters that had since the close of the public hearing submitted emails expressing their concerns. I had sent the board my correspondence and communications with council yesterday. Essentially, in summary, council indicates that based upon the record to date, primarily the board closing the hearing and voting, and based upon the general conditions that your decisions for accessory structures typically include, council is weighing in that it's not really viable, legally viable, to reopen the hearing. So the final item that remains for the board, which was one of the, or some of the abutters' concerns, was related to buffering and screening. As the draft decision already includes your boilerplate conditions related to the detached garage shall not be used for commercial purposes. So that addresses some of the primary abutter concerns. There are abutter correspondences that indicate that there may be some commercial businesses operating from this site. That remains to be determined. Your decision, I think, protects your special permit, again, whereby the detached garage shall not be used for commercial purposes. If in fact there are commercial businesses there that do not comply with our home occupation bylaw, then the abutters, I've instructed the abutters and will continue to instruct the abutters, the proper avenue is obviously to file a request for zoning enforcement. So as I mentioned, the final item is within your jurisdiction on a special permit is whether the 2,400 square foot garage as located on the property warrants screening, either vegetative or fencing or a combination thereof. As you recall, I believe this is located or abuts one side lot line abuts a highway. So it's kind of tucked in the rear of a large property. But I think there's members that are very familiar with this site.
Well, Nancy, you're the one that's big into screening. What do you have to say?
Well,
Well, I am big into screening, but I'm big into screening when it's a change of use. So, you know, if it's industrial against residential or commercial against residential or whatever. This sounds like it's residential against residential, and I'm hesitant to require new conforming development to add fences and screens between adjacent residential properties.
Hey, Tim, you had your hand up.
yeah, I actually toured the property, and there's a fence around where the neighbors are. You really can't see. It's hard to see back there. I don't see any problem with it. As long as you have everything in there, like you just said, I think we would be fine.
Glenn,
No, I'm good.
Mike Raisback,
I concur with everybody.
Don,
No concerns.
Mike Walsh,
No concerns.
Hank Cool.
I'm good with the project.
All right, you want to vote, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, you've already voted to approve, but a vote to just ratify the decision.
Make a motion to ratify the decision.
Second.
Tim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Glenn,
Aye.
Hank,
Yes.
Mike Walsh,
Yes.
Mike Raisback,
Yes,
Don Van Dyne,
Yes.
Nancy Arroway,
Yes.
Henry Parley is yes too, so I guess you're unanimous. Unless I forgot somebody. All right, next, historical preservation. To adopt a new historic bylaw. Public here. Nancy, do you have anything on this, or is this going to be? Are they hearing this later this week? As historic talked about this.
Historic Commission will be reviewing this in detail next Tuesday. So they do not have any, as a committee, they do not have any feedback at this time. I would suggest that we take whatever comments we have from the public tonight and continue this to our next meeting.
All right.
We just need to
Colleen, is
open.
anybody from-
We just need to open this public hearing, as it was
All right.
advertised, the opening tonight.
Can I have somebody open the meeting?
I moved to open the public meeting on historical preservation warrant article.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Colleen, do we have anybody from the public?
I don't have anybody chiming off in the chat.
All right, I guess we put this off to the next meeting when we hear from historic.
I move that we continue this until the next meeting.
Second.
Can I ask you one
Okay.
before we
Yep.
go on this? So we're gonna wait for historic's opinion. Once we get their opinion, then we'll chime in with our stuff, right?
Yeah, we'll do it,
That's what-
but they get the big debate going then, yeah.
Wanted to check.
Can I just do a roll call on this one? I don't think I have to do. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, UPS. We have a draft, we had a draft decision.
Yep, so a draft decision was emailed out to you. It covers obviously the procedural history, the submission requirements, facts, findings, which this is not a COID, so it's the old school where the board needs to fill in the facts for each applicable finding. There's a special permit vote for a major business complex, site plan review, and the only other special permit was for reduction in internal parking lot landscaping area. So as
So
you're
how do you
aware,
wanna- How do you want to
this
handle
public
this?
hearing is still open.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you want to handle it on our side? As far as for the filling out fill it all out and deliver it to you, or email them to you, or?
If board members, if any board members had a chance to do it prior to this evening, we can do it right now. If the board is not prepared to fill out the findings, then essentially we would be doing that at the next meeting. I am aware that the applicant, that this is time sensitive for the applicant. So I think they're appreciative if this could be
Wrapped up this
the vote
evening.
could be finalized this evening.
Colleen, is anybody from the public there to chime in?
There are two people.
All right.
Krishna is first.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm the neighbor for Jennifer Lane. So last week, I heard that the fence height would be 14 feet. And in the prior discussions, they said there's going to be a 4 feet berm plus this 14 feet fence. So can you guys let us know exactly? They send a map, but we don't understand some of those details, what they're doing. So can we know if it's covering my area? Because right now, from my house, it's pretty open because of the National Grid construction going on. They are taking down trees, and I can see through the lights in UPS parking lot every night. I can hear noises. And second thing is, they mentioned in the walkthrough day that whatever the material they're going to use was going to support 30 decibels of sound. But the documentation that Casey sent, it says it's only 20 decibels and could do more, but they're not guaranteeing anything. And also, I heard something about reduction of parking spaces. So I don't know what that means, what that new addition they're asking today. And one request I would like for UPS to consider is where they have that building. I noticed last night as I was checking those lights, the lights are focused, the floodlights or whatever those lights are focused towards our properties. If they can do something, these are the lights on the building. It's not the parking lot lights, but these are the floodlights on the building that are focused towards our property. If they can do something to mitigate that light coming to our property, that would be helpful. And the nighttime noises, if they can stop honking, at least they shouldn't be honking at night. And these are some of the concerns we have. And also, I would like to know the operation of hours on this new parking lot, because if they can keep it during the daytime, at least we can sleep through the night. Otherwise, they're going to be right over my head driving through that parking lot.
All right. I believe we have somebody from UPS wants to speak.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the time.
Good evening. Yeah, over the last 3 hearings, we have responded to some of the noise concerns, and we have issued revised drawings. We've increased the height of the berm across the abutting line. We have increased the height of the fence from 8 feet to 12 feet to 14 feet. And actually, the most recent spec from Acoustablock is a 15-foot high fence. It's an STC rating of 28. So determining the decibels, like I said, the product data sheet has a 20 dB rating. It varies. So yeah, doing everything we can from a sound attenuation perspective there. And we did include some additional sightline sections in the last distribution of drawings to convey visual blockage as well.
Yeah, Doug, but the truck noise, I think, is more than 20 decibels. The trucks and the honking they make at nighttime.
So just step in here, the facts 10 and 11 are capture the enhanced abutter screening. The other item that I think needs to be noted is that within our zoning sound regulations, emergency backup beeps and so forth are exempt from the decibel levels. So if those are the noises that abutters are hearing in the middle of the night, early hours of the morning, under current zoning provisions, those are considered to be exempt from the sound provisions.
No, I'm talking more even about the honking noise and the engine noise at nighttime. I mean, and then the throwing of the stuff. I mean, my neighbor can tell. I mean, he is right next to it too, and I can hear it too now. I mean, so especially the honking. Why do they have to honk at 12 o'clock in the night?
Isn't this why they're installing the sound barrier in the fence to
mitigate some of this?
It will mitigate some of it, but I don't believe it's going to do that job that they're telling us that it will do for us.
Well, there's really no way to tell until they start doing it.
We have requested for some studies. If they have done any studies, if they can prove it. They just send me a link to a Coca-Cola plant where Coca-Cola plant, I don't know how much noise they make during, and especially with this new online, the partnership they made with other companies like Target and other huge companies, their distribution workload has increased tremendously. So the activity in the complex has increased tremendously right now, which we could hear it. I mean, we could feel it right now. What UPS agrees or disagrees, but they can tell us. I mean, it's not just UPS load that has increased, but it is with the partnership that they made with other big corporations that all the deliveries are happening here right now.
It's a 24/7 operation. It's hard for us to tell them you can't run your trucks at night.
No, we understand, sir. We are not denying on that. But what we are saying is that they have increased their operation so much in the last few years. That's before we never had this much of noise or issues with that. I mean, at Christmas, yes, there was a lot of operation. I mean, activity, we understood that. But now it's like 24/7 going on for us.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing we could say is that the purpose of the lot expansion is to, as we've mentioned in the past hearings, to alleviate some of the congestion in the lot. So if you are hearing honking and such, it likely is due to some of the congestion, and we would be freeing up space for those trailer positions. So hopefully that.
Or it could be the other way too, Doug. Right? They could increase more noise for us, right?
So I'll just step in here. I think the decision reflects the public record as it has been presented in the planning board public hearing. And my understanding of that record is that the board has asked, based upon abutter input, the board has asked both the butters and the applicant how many and how have previous noise complaints been registered. And I think the response has been that there have not been a lot of noise complaints either submitted directly to UPS and likely even fewer submitted to the town. So there's no record or evidence within the planning board public hearing that the current operation and or the new operation will not comply with the noise bylaw as applicable. What the planning board record and decision articulates is the berming, fencing, and acoustical material in the specifications as set forth. My expectation moving forward is that if UPS knows that they're not going to comply with the noise bylaw when they open this facility, then you can kind of play this out in a logical sequence. If they believe they're going to comply and we receive complaints, those complaints are going to be processed like any other zoning enforcement request. The building commissioner, zoning officer is going to go out and do an investigation. And at some point, this may evolve to requesting the property owner to do a noise study. But I think for purposes of the planning board decision, I think that your draft decision likely addresses this within a reasonable perspective.
Right. I mean, all we are asking is to help us to live in a peaceful life. That's all. I mean, there's nothing we can do. I mean, if you guys want to do it, I mean, I'm just bringing up my concern. That's all, because right now I'm getting bombarded by both sides, from National Grid and UPS. So there's nothing I can do. So, I mean, National Grid took out trees. They opened up the whole area for me right now.
But we're talking about UPS, and at this point right now,
UPS is right behind. UPS is right behind the National Grid facility.
Right, and UPS is willing to work with you, and they are doing something to help with the sound. I mean, I think maybe you give them a chance, see how they do, and if then you're still having issues, then you guys have to actually complain.
What we are all we are asking is that put a wall that can protect us from the noise and visual
Well, that they're doing that.
Yeah.
No, this is a fence. I mean, it's not noise barrier wall like the highway walls.
Yeah, I think that they're really trying to, and if you are having an issue, then you need to complain, and then it can be brought up again.
Sure, sir. I mean, going forward, that's what we'll be doing then. There's only so much I can ask, right? So at least can you tell them about the lights and nighttime operation of those trucking, the new truck law? I think they mentioned that they'll be operating during the daytime only there.
Nancy, is there any way to put any screening with arborvitaes or anything like that would
lighting? We have a lighting bylaw that we're not supposed to be lighting off site anyways to start with. That they should be conforming with. They should have shields on the lights.
Maybe
that's. Yeah, I can take pictures from or I can shoot a video and send it to you guys tonight if you want from my backyard.
The planning board decision will regulate the new light poles. I believe the decision indicates that there's 8 new 24-foot high light poles. As the chair mentioned, those are proposed and required to be fully screened with no light spillage off the property. Any existing light poles on the property are not subject to this this pending approval. The only remaining item that the board needs to fill in is special condition number 3 related to the Kelvins. I keep forgetting what the board's standard is for Kelvins related to light poles.
4,000.
4,000.
Yeah, these are the existing ones on the building I'm talking about. They are on the building focusing towards Jennifer Lane.
It may be something to have a conversation with them. They're grandfathered right now.
Yeah, I agree, sir. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, there's nothing. I just I noticed it, so I just brought it up to your attention. That's all. If there's something they could do, that would be helpful. I think Casey must be hearing it right now. So if something Casey can do, that would be real helpful.
Colleen, was there someone else?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, next up is Natasha.
Hi, good evening, board. This is Natasha Ramsing, attorney representing one of the abutters, 93 Brick Hill Road. And, I just wanted to point out once again that, the public has a complete lack of support for this project. Not one person that's spoken has provided any sort of support for this towards UPS. And although UPS has attempted to make good on this construction, it still doesn't help the neighbors. There still isn't enough protection of the neighbors for the noise. And I understand emergency vehicles have the ability to be exempt from sound regulations. However, honking does not. That has nothing to do with emergency vehicles. So I still feel as though, the neighbors need to have that protection of having a quiet place in order to put their heads at night. And it still is not right that there are neighbors right around UPS that are sleeping with earplugs. You know, it's definitely not a good look and definitely not what would be deemed behavior of a good neighbor. You know, I also don't think that the architectural plans that were provided are very clear. It was very difficult to understand what revisions were made to the plans, if any. So I would just urge the board to really take into consideration the public's lack of support for UPS in regards to this matter.
All right. I have been going through the facts while we've been, actually, I guess we got to close the public meeting first.
I'll give you a motion to close the public hearing.
I
We
have
still
a
have
second?
people, we still have abutters that want to speak.
I thought we only had two. Who else is there?
There's a motion out there. Though.
Yeah, Noah Parek, are you there? Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Hi, Noah Parek, 93 Brickkiln Road. I mean, it's a big concern for us as well, the noise and the increase in trucks. And the fact that the neighborhood is no longer a neighborhood and that there are tax-paying citizens who want to live, raise families, and they can't even go out at night for a nice walk because they're afraid of UPS trucks running them over. And the fact of the matter here is that there is no regard for community anymore, just for a big industrial taxpayer that wants to just do what they want to do with no regard to the fact that this is a community. And it's been a community well before UPS has been there. And there has to be guidelines, not for people just to be able to complain when they can't sleep at night or they're wearing earplugs or they're afraid that their dog's going to get hit. There has to be protection from the committee and the board to making sure that if this makes the situation worse, then what is the recourse? How many strikes until they're out? There has to be a commitment, in my opinion, that people and their right to live in this neighborhood will be protected. It's getting worse. Once this is done, it's going to get worse. And we have an interest in making this a community. And we respect the fact that UPS does a great job with, delivering packages. But what about creating families and culture in this town? I mean, where are the values? Do we have values? Born and raised in this town, graduated from Chelmsford High. Love the fact that I could ride my bike anywhere. But where are the values in this community? That's all I have to say. But someone has to step up. Thank you.
Henry,
Colleen, you have any?
yes, two more. So then the next one is NL. He's also a neighbor.
Okay.
He's coming. There he is.
My name is Anil Patel. I'm from 57 Brickkiln Road. I have two questions, simple questions to it. If you can bring up the plan. One thing I noticed on the last plan is how far you are going with the tree buffer all the way to the Brickkiln Road. I have seen in the last plan that last 40 feet of your plan does not show any trees over there. Second question I have is related to the fence height and how far there also the fence barrier material, sound barrier material is going to go from where it starts, where it's end. Two things need to be clearly understood. Third thing is you are private firm. You can put the procedures, state level people put the procedures in a place to do the following procedures, and city has a guidelines and bylaws that we follow. You are a private firm, you can put together the procedure in place to operate properly the trucks inside your facility, and you can maintain not honking, you can maintain interval between them, you can maintain the routes, you can put the signage inside there, all things can be done. If we as a citizen following the guidelines of city as well as state as well as the US level, why can't you just put together a private firm to follow the instructions of your guideline and not honking and certain hours of moving the trucks from new parking lot to the closest location to your parking wherever you need it. You can do anything you want to do. You want the leverage, you will get the leverage and you will do whatever you want to do. Other option would be you can put the procedure in place and you can follow those procedures need to be followed. We follow the guideline of the state and cities and everything. If you don't follow and start honking and taking a left turn, we get the tickets. You can do that same thing because sleeping at night, it should be paying a price somebody. And we are paying the price in this case. We are allowing you to do what you need to do, but you got to take some responsibility, accountability towards the human being sleeping at night, and you cannot disturb that. That's a basic need, and somebody is basically empowered to live their life. That is my request. You guys have to take a serious matter this, because we not jerk driving a car in the road and not getting ticket. We get the tickets. You have to follow and put together some procedure in place to support this. And again, if you can help me understand the tree planting and the barrier, how far it is going, that would be helpful, because per plan, I do not see that it's going all the way to the front. Thank you so much for giving me a time to speak up.
Colleen, you got another one?
Chester Bartles. Chester?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, well, good evening. I am one of the partners with Brook Hill LLC and have a keen interest in this property. Appreciate your time tonight. Appreciate everybody working under these circumstances, and this has been a pretty extremely smooth process. So kudos to you all administratively to make this happen. Look, I mean, I can't help but you know, as we design and develop properties and create opportunities, I can't help but just feel that we're putting too many cars and too many trucks next to residential homes. We've heard some fairly powerful testimony from some of the abutters. I mean, hard to believe, you know, earplugs and things like this at night, and I just wonder if we're not putting too much strain and stress on what's becoming an industrial part of our neighborhood. You know, our plans to develop and do things, you know, we're having a hard time understanding how we might do that with this land, given the capacity of trucks and the frequency and just the expansion that's taken place in a residential district, albeit an approved use. It's a lot. I think we can all agree to that. I don't think anybody, you know, would probably disagree with that. We're getting to a point where it's becoming a fairly dense, and from the way that we see it, you know, too dense, with trucks and things right up against residential neighborhoods. And so I just wonder if there aren't other solutions and if there aren't other ways to help protect neighbors. I mean, look, I'll be very frank. I mean, I feel like our property is where you ought to park your trucks, and I'll go on the record saying that without talking to my partners, and you know, not really joking about it, but I worry about, you know, as my partner Noah Parek had mentioned, the sense of community that is on this edge of this industrial area is really taking a hit. For landowners like us, this is a huge concern. You know, this land to us is something that has opportunity and development ability, and that's waning. That's waning here greatly, and it has over many years. You know, look, we all love UPS, and we like things showing up at our doorsteps, but at the same time, you know, there's a lot of land owners and stakeholders in property adjacent to UPS that are suffering. And I would ask the board to just respond to that. Is that not the case? Is that not a concern? Is that, you know, I mean, I just feel like we're getting to the point where we're creating harm to some of these landowners, and I'm one of them. And so I'd like the board to respond to that. I don't, we've said some things earlier that haven't had a lot of response, but I'd like the board to respond and let us know about their growth plan and what things are happening and what makes sense. But there's a lot of pressure right now on the abutters around UPS to maintain the quality of life and to maintain a land value. And I'll ask the board to respond.
We'll respond after we take all the comments from the public. Do we have any other comments?
That's all I have, Henry.
Henry, I'll give you the motion to close the public hearing now.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All right. As far as that last person, we are worried about how the public, lives and gets by over there. Part of the reason for the sound barrier and the the shades on the light fixtures. You've heard from UPS, we're trying to, try to cut down the congestion going in to actually get it so the trucks can get off the road and shut down quicker. There are some benefits to this, not just hammering more out. I don't know if anybody else has anything else they want to add to that, but that's kind of what we're looking at between the berm and everything else.
I have something, Henry.
Yep.
One thing is, I think the reason why I asked in the beginning is how many complaints have we had? And it's kind of crazy that we really we had 0 noise complaints to the town, to the police that we know of. Now, obviously, people are very upset and we're hearing, but that's kind of why we asked that, to find out if this was an ongoing problem. So, and then now we're hearing from basically every resident around there that, guess what? It is a problem. Well, I would think UPS would have worked a little bit harder. And I know that they have been working hard and they've been, trying to do what they can. But we haven't heard from one person that said, yeah, they're good. Pretty much everybody's complaining about the thing. So the center fire station, they actually, our backup alarms are reduced because we have we had neighbors here that, were complaining about the sounds at night, and even the lights. We have, shades on the top windows so it's not bright for the neighbors. So, the concessions were made, and, maybe UPS really, at being a good neighbor and, being the size company they are, maybe they really ought to look into a plan. They're knowing that the beeping's an issue. And I know that they have to do that probably for safety. I'm not a truck driver, but I'm guessing that's how they kind of let the other guy know they're right there. But maybe there's another system that can be put in place to stop the honking at night for the people. The lights on the building. Well, we know that the new lights are going to be up to our specs. Maybe they want to, say, look, while we're doing that, we'll take the lights on the building and make them the same way. To be respectful. So now they're knocking off things that these guys are complaining about. The third thing, the barrier. I know that they're saying they're going to put a barrier. Maybe they can go a little bit higher with the barrier to actually make these people a little bit happier. Not only that, they're a big company. Maybe they could put some arborvitae, something that could be a sound barrier also to help out the neighborhood. I get what the guy was saying. And I do, think obviously we're grateful we have UPS in our town, and they're a great company. But you really have to take into consideration all of these people and not one person saying anything good. Now, they are making, changes to help them. Maybe they just got to dig a little deeper to make some of these neighbors happy. And I don't think they're crazy things. Working on the horns, the barrier, maybe some arborvitae, things that, maybe it'll be a little bit of money, and then also the lights on the building. That's something like, that they could get addressed, and that would knock off some of their complaints. That's what I would like to see. Obviously, if this is that huge of a problem, the other thing is I'm very concerned that we've never heard anything or no one's ever complained. They really need to complain if there's an issue, because otherwise no one's going to know about it. That's all I got for now. Thank you.
Mike Raisbeck, you got anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment strictly on the noise reduction, not on any of the other issues, although I will say that it wouldn't be a half bad idea to put extra shades on the building mounted lights if you could manage it. But we're talking about well over 20 dB of attenuation here. That's a lot. I think the spec said possibly even 28. That's a lot of sound attenuation. And I am going to bet, based on that the actual sound getting through that barrier, even with potentially additional traffic, is going to be less than what's getting through it now. And that's from the technical point of view. I wanted to make that point. That's it.
I should also let it know that Mike does know something about sound. He's a lawyer, he makes plenty of it.
Touche.
Nancy Airway. Nancy. I think we lost
Sorry,
Nancy.
I was muted.
We've never been able to mute you, Nancy.
You only wish you could mute me, Henry. I was going to point out that Mike also knows a whole lot about dB from his radio experience, and that he is an expert in that field. I'm not having a problem with this plan. From the site walk that we saw, the situation after this development is expected to be so much better than the sound and the disturbance before. There is no planned increase in the trucks because of this development. The development adds sound deadening where we've asked for it. I'm just not seeing anything here to get excited about. They did change the landscaping material so that it no longer causes problems under the power lines, and does not have invasive species. So that's good. I'm good with it.
Mike Walsh.
I totally agree with all the comments that have been made so far, especially Tim's comments. 100% behind all those regarding, I think, UPS. After seeing it on the walkthrough, it would be nice if you went above and beyond. We know this request is coming through for the, straightforward for the parking, but I think it would be nice if, Casey, if you guys can just go above and beyond for the neighbors and try to resolve some of these issues. I would like to see if you allow Henry, that Doug get control of the screen and show the extent of where the barrier is going one last time.
Yeah, they might also be able to go online to our planning board meeting, and it's there too for them. But
Okay,
yeah,
that's
if they
fine.
can, that'd be fine.
Would you like me to go ahead and do that?
Sure.
Okay. I am disallowed from doing so. Somebody needs to give me permission.
Right, here's where it gets fun.
Oh, sorry, Colleen.
No, that's Henry has the control.
Oh,
first time in my life I've ever had control.
So mistakenly, Pete had given control to Katie, like the full control of the meeting. And when Katie gave it back, she gave it back to Henry. So Henry has.
Colleen, what about you clicking on the agenda, the link to the agenda?
Oh, yes, I can do that. Thanks for being reasonable. Let's see.
Well, I think Henry's using an iPhone, I believe.
Yep.
So
My computer's among the missing.
If it's too much of a problem, we can make the recommendation that the people look at on the website. It's just that I don't think everybody can understand the drawings like we can. And I'd like to just see what the extent of where the barrier starts and the barrier ends.
Does that work? Is that the one, Doug?
There we go.
That's a landscaping plan. That is not the actual fencing plan. It would be one of the more recent submissions. Let me see if I can share now. Nope, I cannot. It's for reference, it is sheet C7. This looks like the initial submission, Colleen. It does not look like the revised sheets with the changes we've made based on the board feedback and the town comments where we increase the size of the fence.
Yeah, I don't think I have that one available.
It was C7A and C7B. It would have been on probably last meeting's agenda.
Hold on.
It is unfortunate because I'm looking at it right here on my screen.
Well, if we can get Henry to make you a host. Do you have any technical support there, Henry, your kids?
I'm getting it. Share contacts.
So it would be on the bottom in the Zoom.
Yeah, the share contact.
Yeah, if you can find Doug and just, actually, if you can just, I don't know if you have, click on Doug's picture, right click, and you might be able to give him a.
I'm trying.
Doug, if you can
Could we
email
just
it,
tell
you can
people?
do that quickly.
I can, yeah, you know what? That actually makes a lot of sense, Colleen. I'll do that right now.
While we fumble through this.
Sorry for making the suggestion. You guys are all going to kill me, but sorry.
Okay. No, it just says stop video. Okay, hold on. I got his plans. Let's do this one. There you go. Technology.
So you could see the more obvious dimensional indication at the top where it says top of fence elevation at 158. That is the span of the acoustical barrier that stepped up. I would like to remind that originally with the original submission, this was an 8-foot high fence without sound attenuation. We increased it to 12 after initial comments, and then we increased it to 14 and added sound attenuation. We actually increased it to 15. And we increased the span of it. So basically that dimension where you see top of elevation at 158 in this area, that is the location of the sound wall.
158 goes that whole length?
Correct.
Is there anything on the Brick Hill Road facing that way?
Just the landscaping.
Just landscape?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there are houses on Brooklyn Road. What about them?
I thought our public meeting was closed, Colleen.
It's closed.
But you guys are showing up the design, so I mean that's unfair. I mean,
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Don Van Dyne. You have any comments? Don, you there?
No question, no comments.
Hank Cole.
Thanks, Henry. I'm pretty good with this project. I hate to say it, but if the sound barrier, what was the decibels that was gonna reduce the sound by?
It's an SDC rating of 28. 20 dB reduction, sometimes even more.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, that's a start. And if it's not enough, maybe right, and maybe the neighbors can throw some of that material on their fence and have a double, barrier there. My other only question was, when you're removing the trees, is there any ways you can take some decent sized trees and just transplant them behind Jennifer Lane, that 40-foot buffer area? Instead of cutting them all down, I didn't know if you could transplant a couple just to throw some more trees and brush between the neighbors. That was it.
All right. Anybody else got any comments?
Nothing.
All right. So I guess
We got to vote on the motion to close. We didn't vote yet.
I thought we did.
No.
All right. We have all in favor of closing the public hearing?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is that good enough for you? We need a roll call, Evan.
Why don't we do roll call on these votes?
All right, Glenn Cole.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Mike Walsh.
Yes.
Mike Raisback.
Yes.
Nancy Arroway.
Yes.
Don Van Dyne.
Yes.
Hank Cool.
Yes.
And I'm a yes too.
So any board members have a chance to fill in the blanks on the what facts are applicable to what findings?
No, I haven't yet. That's going to take 45 minutes or an hour.
I haven't done it either. I just found it in my spam while I was looking for it. Unless we just.
So there's a couple options here. You've already taken a straw poll, which is what this decision reflects. It doesn't sound like the board's prepared to finalize the decision with filling in what facts apply to what findings this evening. But I think you're in a position to take a formal vote now that the public hearing has been closed. And if you do that, then at the next meeting, between now and the next meeting, you guys can send me, each of you send me your fill in the blanks, and we can ratify those at the next hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would work for us. It's more or less how it's going to work for UPS.
Yeah, to clarify, so at this point, I think the board's read the facts.
Yeah, I've read them.
And you know what special permits and site plan involves as far as approval criteria. We just haven't gone through the itemization step.
All right. So I guess we finalize next meeting then.
Yeah, you, like I said, you could take a vote on the decision this evening.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So just out of curiosity, UPS, does that mean that they're done dealing with the neighbors? Are they still gonna, because we just mentioned a couple of items that I just wanted to bring up to see if there was any thought to that. If they were to continue to maybe work with the neighbors on it, the beeping, and then the lights on the building. And again, I think it would go a long way with them. And just asking if they're still willing to work with the neighbors on some of those items.
Tim, if I can speak to that. Again, all the comments that we've heard from all the neighbors, we've taken very serious. This meeting tonight was the first comment on any light pollution off our property. So just like every previous meeting, we take that pretty seriously. So if there are areas on our building that aren't shielded from our neighbors, we'll look at it and address. The honking, we can see what the specifics are and make sure that honking is a minimum. Again, it's one of our safety procedures where we honk the horn before we back up. We teach all our UPS drivers to do that. It's just another safety precaution. But again, any neighbor concerns, any neighbor complaints, any town concerns, any abutter concerns, we will take them seriously. So yes, Tim, we'll continue to work with neighbors and abutters to address these concerns that were brought up and any future concerns.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time and would be willing to work with them. That's all. Thank you.
So if the board is considering taking votes this evening, there's 3 votes for consideration. The first is the major business complex. Second is site plan approval. And the third is the reduction in internal parking area landscaping.
All right. I don't have that in front of me. I need the exact rule, how you want to read it in, or you can.
I'll give you the motion and someone can move it.
All right.
So the first one is Article 11, Major Business Complex, Section 195-57, Decision Criteria.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Oh, we got do a roll
Aye.
call. So that's Glenn.
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Mike Walsh,
Yes.
Mike Raisback,
Yes.
Don Van Dyne,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Cool,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. I don't think I forgot anybody.
Next one is Section 195-104, Site Plan Review, Subsection H, Approval.
Motion to move.
Second.
All right. Glenn,
Yes.
Don Van Dyne,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike Walsh,
Yes.
Mike Raisback,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
and Cool,
Yes.
and me is a yes.
Third and final one is Section 195-44A, Reduction for Internal Parking Area Landscaping.
So moved.
Second.
Glenn,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Don Van Dyne,
Yes.
Nancy Arroway,
Yes.
Mike Walsh,
Yes.
Mike Raisback,
Yes.
Tim,
Already said yes.
Hank,
Yes.
and me. I guess we got everybody twice.
Okay, so for the next meeting, I will send out an email reminder reminding the board to submit their itemized facts for each finding.
Okay. Do we have anything else here left? I think we're just about done. I know we had meeting minutes, but they didn't come until today.
Are we continuing the Stonegate?
Oh, thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Yes,
believe
there
Stonegate.
was a letter submitted to continue Stonegate.
Okay.
So we don't have anything else, do we?
I just need a motion to continue it.
A motion to-
I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, a motion to continue the Stonegate hearing.
So
Glenn
moved.
gave you a motion. Waiting for a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I don't think you need much more than that, do you?
To what date?
What's the next meeting?
July 22nd.
There are meeting minutes to approve. Do you want to approve meeting minutes, Henry, or?
We just got them tonight. I did.
Okay, we'll do it next meeting.
All right. Now,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks, guys. Henry, don't close down yet because you got the whole meeting. Stay there.
If Evan wants to have Katie call me tomorrow, I will gladly take and go over things with her.
It's okay, you can quit it.
Are we good to quit now, Pete?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I was powerless. I gave it all away.
All right.
You'll never do that again.
That's actually the second time I've done it. I don't learn very fast.
All right. So Colleen, Katie can call me tomorrow. If she
Okay,
wants.
I will let her know.
All right. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, all.
The meeting